This is Ronaldo Nazario. And by 1998, he was already a Ballon d'Or winner, a two-time FIFA World Player of the Year, and regarded among the best in the world by just 21. So at the World Cup that summer in France, all eyes were on who they called O Fenômeno, the phenomenon in Portuguese. With him and his team in sizzling form, they seemed destined to win themselves their second World Cup in a row. But destiny had a bit of a different plan. Just hours before kickoff, something puzzling and disturbing began happening. And that something turned into a never-ending saga that's still talked about today. This is the story of the World Cup's biggest mystery. The team was having lunch in the hotel, and in Ronaldo's words, afterwards he went back to his room with Roberto Carlos to relax. He laid down, thinking he had fallen asleep, but woke up 10 minutes later with a doctor and the rest of his team by his side. He had actually had a seizure. Roberto Carlos even remembers Ronaldo foaming at the mouth and visibly convulsing before crashing on his bed. He was shipped out to a nearby hospital, spent 3 hours there doing physical and psychological tests, and then made his way to the stadium to join his team. Of course, in such a surreal turn of events, the team unanimously agreed at that moment that Ronaldo had to sit out the final. The news spread like wildfire, and confusion and fear gripped millions of fans worldwide. Except for the few in the Brazilian seleção, nobody knew what was going on with Ronaldo. To them, only one thing was for sure, and that was that the world's biggest game was about to be played without its biggest star. Or so we thought.
So much humming and erring over the possible participation or otherwise of Ronaldo. First on the team sheet, then not, and then restored. And he does start, although outlandish stories continue to circulate.
You know, in hindsight, I think the weirdest thing about this day wasn't that Ronaldo suffered a seizure, but that he played a World Cup final hours after having a seizure. Ronaldo insisted to his coach on playing. Quote, "I'd rather lose playing badly than lose a coward," he said. But his performance on the field that day was far from his usual brilliance. France won 3-0, leaving Brazil shaken and the world puzzled. This was such a big deal that the team had to present themselves to Brazilian Congress years later to explain from their point of view what happened. And that's the basic story, at least with the details put out into the public. Of course, with anything this big, there are numerous conspiracies about what happened that day, ranging from plausible to downright ridiculous. With that being said, let's summarize some of them. The first theory is the one relayed by Ronaldo and the Brazilian team, that the star had a seizure at the worst time possible, but that it was all just a very unfortunate and untimely coincidence. When asked about his side of the story, Ronaldo stated that it was simply the burden of being the best player in the world, combined with medication that he was taking for knee pain that's triggered the seizure. In his biopic last year, he explained it saying, "A phenomenon cannot fail, cannot feel pain, and of course cannot stop scoring." It was that simple to him, and it also explains why he was so persistent to play the game that day. Some find it hard to believe, though, that a player of Ronaldo's caliber, with a track record of handling immense pressure, would let nerves get the better of him on the biggest day of his career. He never had a health problem this bad for another day in his life, at least as far as we know. On the day of a World Cup final, the seizure may have just been terrible timing, but it's one of those instances where it almost looks like too much of a coincidence. The next theory is that Nike forced Ronaldo to play the final, even after his seizure. Another theory suggests that Nike, the sports brand that had a strong partnership with both Ronaldo and the Brazilian national team, forced him to play the final. Now, Nike's financial stakes in the game were immense. This was before they dominated the football world, and along with their presence in the team, it raised suspicions. Edmundo, a Brazilian player who was benched in the final, believed they had an influence in Ronaldo getting the green light from doctors to play, recalling, quote, "Nike's people were there 24 hours a day, as if they were members of the technical staff. It's a huge power. That's all I can say." Reports even claim that Nike had such a big influence that they demanded Brazil play their strongest team always, even in friendlies. A couple years later, when the Brazil team had to go before Congress to explain their side of the story, Nike's involvement with the squad was the main topic explored during that hearing. and the investigation following that hearing cleared Nike of any wrongdoing. Ronaldo stated that their relationship was merely about wearing their boots, scoring goals, and nothing more. And the final theory is that the Brazilian team accepted bribes to throw the final, and that Ronaldo's seizure was a hoax. Now, the same investigation that cleared Nike also looked into the Brazilian Football Federation and described them as, quote, a den of crime revealing disorganization, anarchy, incompetence, and dishonesty. Yikes. This contributed to the theory that Brazil was lured by FIFA into letting France win on their home soil. They apparently offered them upwards of 20 million euros, a favorable draw in the 2002 tournament, and a chance to soon host a World Cup themselves. It's important to keep in mind that FIFA at this point was also run by Sepp Blatter, who we know was a bona fide criminal and a mastermind of corruption in this sport. And Brazil both won the World Cup in 2002 with a favorable looking group and run to the final, and they also hosted it, of course, in 2014. Bribes and corruption was nothing new in 20th century football, so this isn't nearly out the realm of possibility. The theory suggests that the team was offered $2 million to lose, but that Ronaldo wasn't comfortable with it. He allegedly then pulled out before Nike stepped in and said he had to play. Then it was later explained by a mysterious seizure that they faked. The claim is obviously denied tirelessly, and if I'm allowed to throw my opinion here, I don't understand it. Surely the Brazilian team, many believe, already there in the World Cup final, wouldn't turn down a chance to win it simply for cash. But of course, when you have a shady organization in the Brazilian Federation and another shady organization in FIFA, you can't be surprised when this thing comes up. As with any great mystery, there are reasons to support and deny each theory, though the harsh reality is that we're never really going to know, and that the events leading up to the 1998 final will always remain shrouded in mystery, and we're always going to be left with more questions and answers. No matter how hard we look, really, the events of that 1998 final will probably remain unsolved. What do you believe really happened? You can always let me know down in the comments, and I'll be sure to get to it. And if you enjoyed this exploration, please show your love by subscribing down below, and I will talk to you all pretty soon. Ciao.